So you're thinking about selling your house. You've really got a fundamental choice to make. Are you going to go the traditional route with a real estate agent, or do you take a direct cash offer? Today, we're going to break down these two very different paths.
But let's start with the one question that's really at the heart of this whole thing. Is the highest offer you get for your home always the best deal? As you're about to see, the answer is a little more complicated than you might think.
All right, let's dive in and break down these two options. At its core, the choice you make really just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. On one side, you have the classic method, listing with an agent. The main goal there is usually to get the highest possible top-line price for your house. But on the other side, you've got selling directly to a cash buyer. And that's an option that's all about speed and the certainty of a done deal. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. We have to talk about the crucial difference between the sale price of a house and the actual amount of money you, the seller, walk away with. They are not the same thing. This chart really tells the story. With an agent, you're typically on the hook for commissions, fees, and closing costs. A cash buyer, however, very often covers all of those expenses. And notice this, there's no need for a bank appraisal in a cash sale, which can be a pretty big hurdle sometimes. And look, let's be clear. The analysis fully acknowledges that listing with an agent will almost always start with a higher initial price tag on your home. That's the main attraction of the traditional market, right? But right off the top, the first thing that happens is the agent's commission comes out. And that's typically 6 to 8% of that final price, paid by you, the seller. And the hits keep coming. On top of commissions, sellers also usually pay for closing costs, and that can gobble up another 2%. So you see how that big, attractive number starts to shrink pretty fast. Now compare that to the direct buyer's approach, which is summed up perfectly by this quote from the source material. Their claim is all about simplicity. The offer they make is the net amount you receive, minus, of course, any mortgage you still owe. But, this whole comparison isn't just about commissions and fees. As the analysis shows, time itself has a price tag. And on this point, the two paths couldn't be more different. This timeline just illustrates the difference so perfectly. The traditional process, you've got listing the house, endless showings, negotiating an offer, and finally closing. That can take around 91 days. A direct cash sale, on the other hand, can be totally done in as little as a week.
So why does that 90-day waiting period matter so much from a financial perspective? Well, because during all that time, you're still the owner. And that means you're still responsible for all the expenses of the home. We often call these holding costs.
And believe me, these costs add up. For those 3 months or more, you, the seller, are still paying for utilities, property taxes, homeowners insurance, and the big one, the mortgage. These are all expenses that a quick cash sale just helps you avoid almost entirely. So beyond the money and the time, there's this other massive factor to think about: certainty. The traditional sales process is just full of potential hurdles and unknowns that, well, they just don't really exist in a direct sale. And get this, here's a pretty startling figure from the data. Up to 15% of traditional home sales actually fall through before closing. That is a huge amount of uncertainty for any seller to have to deal with.
So what makes a seemingly solid deal just completely collapse? Well, it often comes down to two common clauses you'll find in a sales contract, and they're known as contingencies.
Okay, first up is the financing contingency. This is basically the buyer's escape hatch. If their loan application gets denied, or if the bank's appraiser decides the house isn't worth what they agreed to pay, the buyer can just walk away, no penalty. And you're right back at square one.
And the second big one is the inspection contingency. If a home inspector finds some issues, the buyer can either demand that you pay for the repairs, they can try to renegotiate a lower price, or, you guessed it, they can just cancel the entire deal. So the crucial point that the cash buyer source is making is that their process just eliminates all these variables. They're pitching this no-hassle experience. You sell the house as is, no fixing anything, no cleaning for showing after showing, and you close on a timeline that actually works for you.
So after looking at the money, the timeline, and all the risks, it really all comes down to one simple question: which path is the right one?
And the truth is, there's no single correct answer. The source material makes it really clear that the best option isn't universal. It's deeply personal. It depends entirely on what a seller values most in their specific situation.
Which brings us right back to this final thought. It all boils down to a trade-off. Is your goal to maximize every single potential dollar, even if it means going through a longer, more uncertain process?
Or is your priority a fast, guaranteed sale that offers speed, convenience, and a clear, final number from day one? It's a question every seller has to answer for themselves.